Let's go. Yeah. I really got the feeling today that everything is going my way. Now this is what I'm talking about. Every time I see your smile, it makes me shout. Let's go. Let's go. Nothing's gonna stop us today. Get on the bus or get out the way. We're cruising with the radio on. So turn it up to 10. Here comes our favorite song. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to another episode of IoT Tuesday. First of all, sorry for the late transmission. It was due to some technical challenges I was having with the internet. Um, and I'm unable to download some things I need. It was still going a bit later, but because I said I was going to start at 9, I have to just get started. So I'm going to walk you through the process together, and then we'll see how that works. In today's episode, we'll be talking about how to connect a Raspberry Pi, get sensor data, and send it to Microsoft Azure IoT Hub. When we come back, that is what we'll be talking about. Awesome, we're back. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn, if that's a thing to say, and welcome to the IoT Tuesday show. This is the only IoT show on the continent that helps you demystify everything about IoT, starting getting into it, hobbyists, professionals, everything we got you covered. Hey, welcome, May. How you doing? Hope you're staying safe. Thank you for joining, and hopefully we're going to have some fun on the show today. So, we have been working towards building a home environmental monitoring system before all this virus thing, hit us. And the goal was to build a system or a simple IoT solution that will, collect sensor data pertaining to particle count, gases, temperature, humidity stuff around us in the home, and then send this data up into the cloud or wherever we want to send them, and then make some meaning into it and take some proactive measures. And over the past couple of weeks, we've been looking at connecting the various sensors. If you're joining us the first time today, go check out the show on my YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, all the places, and then go through the episodes where I showed you how to connect the sensors individually to the Arduino. In in last week's episode, we that was more of a theory where we talked about communication when it comes to IoT, device to device, device to cloud, cloud to device, the various um, communication protocols, and then the modes of transfer that we have. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how to connect the Raspberry Pi to Azure IoT Hub, and then in the next episode, I'll probably show you how to connect another IoT board to the Microsoft Azure cloud, especially IoT Hub. Today, we're starting with Raspberry Pi because it seems to be a common module that people have. Now, before we get into it, as always, I am obliged to share some of the good news or news that's happening in the space of IoT with you. Now, if you are joining us and this is the first time, I have been talking about the Geek Store. Now, I know it's a hard thing. People keep asking Samuel, where can I get some of the sensors? Or Samuel, where can I get, these things to buy? Now, fortunately for us, there is the Geek Store that is coming to town. Now, Nigeria marketplace is already launched. Ghana is coming. Other African continents are coming. So if you are watching me and you are in Nigeria, this is the URL to follow. Let me get this up. Then can show you this. So if you are in Nigeria at the moment and you're following the show and you're asking yourself, where can you get IoT stuff to buy? This is the URL you need to keep in mind. geekstore.com.ng. Now, so let's quickly just go to the site right now. Um, Good stuff going on there. So if you're in Nigeria and you're where you want to get, locally, you're asking, oh, where can I get IoT hardware, sensors and all that. Here you go, my Nigerian friends. This is it. Let me actually move to this so that you can see it fully. This is the Geek Store. I think it deserves an applause. Yeah, I think it does. It does deserve an applause. So let's give the Geek Store some applause. Yeah. Yep. So if you're in Nigeria and you want to get your kit and all that which I use in the show, this is your one-stop shop to get it. So Gig Store for Nigeria, go to gigstore.com.ng. Ghana, watch out, the Ghana shop is also coming up very soon. If you need more information about that, talk to me, yours truly, and I would hook you up. Okay, so with that out of the way, that is the first thing that I wanted to share with you. So let's get this out of the way and come back to me. Now, so the next thing I wanted to talk to you about is a few online resources that you can use, especially when you're prototyping IoT stuff. And then the first one, if we can go back to, let's go back to our browser and let me copy this. And I just want to get this out of the way, before um, I want to get this out of before we get started into it, and I'll show you why. So I'm taking the time to do this because quickly, let me share something with you right here. Let me go back to the page. Now, you realize that my IoT, my Raspberry image is still being written. This was because I didn't have internet earlier. I want to do this before the show. That's why I pushed it on, and it's still misbehaving. So I'm taking time to go through all my tools for us to use, and then once we're done, hopefully this should be done, and we're going to move on onto today's episode of connecting uh, the sensor to the Pi and then sending that information to Azure IoT Hub. So keep in mind. So now this Circuit.io is a good place for you if you want to build a lot of IoT stuff. Let me show you something that we will be doing today. Hopefully, if we have the time. So it is. Let me take you to the bench quickly. All right. And then I would explain what you're seeing in the video right now. So let me take you to the bench. All right. Okay. So currently on the bench, you can see that I have a few things going on here. Let's push these things here. I don't need you guys today in today's show. This is what we're doing. So I have with me here, as you can see, I have the Raspberry Pi here. Okay, this is a Raspberry Pi. And then what you're seeing here is something called a T cobbler. Let me just Yeah, so I'm just stretching this out so you can see it properly. So it's called the T cobbler. Now what it does is that it allows me to connect the 40 pin headers on the GPIO pins on the Raspberry Pi onto a breadboard so I can easily connect stuff to it rather than connecting it directly onto the how do you call it, onto the Raspberry Pi itself. All right. Now, so if I bring it a bit close, you will realize that it just has, like the various pins, power, and the rest just connect on the breadboard. So from here, I can connect any sensor I want onto the breadboard. Now, so sometimes when you're creating documentations on connecting IoT devices, it's hard to show. Okay, for instance, you see how I'm connecting the pins right now. All right, some of them, if you look closely, some of them are connected to. Let's bring this here. Yeah, some of it is connected to ground, volt, SDL, SCL. All right. Now it's hard to just draw this or picture this out. So there are tools that allow you to do this. Okay. And in today's, you realize that I'm using a sensor here. This is actually the MPL3115A2. It's an altimeter. It has temperature, humidity, and I think altitude as well. So if you look closely at it here, if you look closely, connected that. But now, let me take you back to the screen. So you realize that if you're using the tool called the Secreto.io, this is what you get. Let me close this and just zoom this out a bit. Now, this allows you, as you can see, this allows me to actually show how, I can easily, let's zoom this in. So we get, yeah, we get just this. Yeah, this allows me, to show how easy I can connect, all right, my sensors to, to a Raspberry Pi or to any board of that sort. So for instance, when I need to connect this, I will just drag it here on top of it, and then look at that. You see, it automatically connects it, puts it on the breadboard and gives me a wiring diagram. All right, now the cool thing about this is that it also allows me to go to code and I can download the code in Python. I mean, check this out. All right, just download the code and then everything is there. So if I'm building in, I mean, because it's Raspberry Pi, I can build in Python. I'll just have to copy this code and run it on my Python and sorry, run it on my Raspberry Pi, and then that's it. It takes a lot of the work out for you. So for instance, if I go here and I say I want, I can actually search for an LED. All right, and I say, yeah, I want to connect just a regular LED to it. This is an addressable one. Let's see if I just get a regular, yeah, basic. Yeah, let's say just a basic blue LED. All right, if I drag this onto it and check this out, it's connected. You get it? It's connected. It's showing me, okay, so I'll need a resistor, about 47, ohms resistor here. All right, maybe 10K ohms resistor connected to, that connected to ground. All right, and then yeah, and this connected to, to voltage. So you see how easy and simple this is. You don't have to be, scratching your head to figure out how do I connect this, how do I connect that. If you don't want it, just select it and remove, and that takes it off. If I don't want it, I can just remove this as well. Just select this and then remove, and that's it. And take a look at this. It's just connecting it. So if, for instance, if I pick, where is that? So if I pick this like a blue, all right, yeah, it's just that simple. So here I have like a bunch of blue LEDs. So same thing here. If I say, okay, how do I connect this LED right now to my Pi? So this is how easy it's telling me. It's like, okay, so the basic blue Pi. So let's go. If you go to, I'll show you the bench while this is done. It says that for the basic blue Pi, which is like an example we want to do right now. Okay, for the very basic blue Pi, I'll need to connect at least a 47 ohms resistor. And I have, where did I put that resistor? I just, I had a, okay, yeah, there you go. Now I'll take some time and talk about, hey, it's going great. Welcome to the show, Tim. Hey, welcome. So I have here, this is, one of these days I'll actually do another episode solely on how to identify the various resistors because of the color codes. I mean, this is like very basic. All right. So with this now, it's telling me that, okay, if I want to connect this my blue LED, okay, right here. If I want to connect the blue LED with this resistor and connecting it to a Raspberry Pi, if I actually hover over it, the connection right here, all right, it will tell me that, okay, connect the, you know, the a wire from the resistor and put it on the Raspberry, 3, connect it to ground, all right? So let me switch this back um, to the, doop. Let's go here. All right, and you can see that it's the same thing here. All right, it's the same blue. I put the same blue one here. Okay, it's a blue one here. So connect this here. Okay, and it's telling me that I should connect the resistor. All right, I should connect the resistor here and connect it to ground. All right, so let's check this out. And let's check this out. So, this it's okay. So I'm using the Raspberry Pi. Let me bring it here in view so you can see it properly whilst I work on. So I'm using the Raspberry Pi for today. In subsequent episode, I will show how to work. I don't know if you've heard about the Omega boards. We have the Omega board as well, Omega 2 Plus. So in subsequent, I can show you how to do that. And then we'll definitely do the Azure Sphere because that's our next secured MCU. So it is the Pi. Okay. So yeah, let's get into it. So now I'm just going to snip off. I'm just going to cut off. Yeah, I'm just going to cut it off a bit because it's too long. So I'm cutting this off a bit, and then I'll just let's try to bend this, and then I'll bend this as well. We'll see. I've done this a couple of times, and most times I tend to like just break them out. Okay, so here, let me bring, so now let me bring this here so you guys see. I'll move this back one, and then I'll connect it here. Yeah, let's get it. Well, I should be using, some of these small tweezers, but I think this also works fine. Yep, yeah, yeah, I think this connected fine. Cool. Okay, so now, and let's go back to this, and it says that now we need to connect that side to ground. All right. So if you hover over this, it tells us to connect it to ground. If you look here, this should connect it to ground. All right. And now if we go back to if you look closely at our T cobbler, all right, we have ground here. There is a ground here. There's another ground here. There's another ground here. All right, whichever of the grounds, that's fine. So I can go ahead and connect this 20, 16, and then ground here. And I can connect this. So as you can see, I can connect this here. There you go. All right. I believe this should rather go to power voltage because that's going to be a collector. Any which ways, I have my own doubts with this, but then let's just go with this for a meantime. I'll if it changes it, I'll just switch it around. All right. Okay. So that's it. And now let's go back here. It tells us that after you've connected that to the ground, the second thing now here, all right, this one goes to voltage. All right. So put it on vein. And I think it's suggesting even 18. It's suggesting pin 18, right? Suggesting pin 18. So let's see this. So if it's from that side, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay. Yeah, pin 18. Yeah, yeah, so just to put pin 18 and I'll use red. So let's go back here. And so because it's a digital, it's a voltage pulling, it says we should put on 18, which you can see from here. All right, so we have the 5 volts, another 5 volt, we have a ground, we have the transmission, we have the receiving, we have the 18. All right, so 18. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, exactly. So here, so it means that pin 18 is the one that's going to be sending the signal to drive this on and off, and that goes right here. Okay, so already, so now, thanks to this application, all right, we've been able to see how to connect a simple basic LED to the Raspberry Pi. So that's one good thing about it. Now, while this is happening, let's go here and see what's happening. Okay, we are 95%. So hey, that's good to know. Okay, cool. Now, so that's one tool out of the way. Now, for those that want to do a lot of, if you want to do a lot of IoT stuff and you are more, JavaScript inclined, the next tool I'm going to show you is what you need. So, Johnny 5. Johnny 5 is a JavaScript like library that allows us to connect to various sensors. So as you can see here, if you're using the Adafruit or Adafruit altimeter like the one I'm using, this is how you connect it. The same thing, all right? It's the same connection I have done on the Raspberry Pi. Now I could do the same thing on an Arduino if you want to get the data. So 5 volts ground here, and then analog 4 and 5 for the SDL and SLCs, all right? So this is another tool, and then it gives you a node, kind of like node version of it, and you can write JavaScript for IoT. So two things, security.io and then your JavaScript. Now, the third thing you need to be aware of, let me bring this here, because it's part of, uh, okay, let me bring this here. Yep, that is the Azure portal. Now, because we'll be sending the data to the Microsoft Azure, in today's episode, we're going to use IoT Hub. Now, there's IoT Central, there's a lot of IoT offerings, but our immediate data like data collection will go to IoT Hub. We'll talk about stream analytics later, and when we have data that comes in a stream and we want to do either anomaly detection on it, or we want to, just get the data to some dashboard or something, that is also there. But IoT Hub is going to be our go-to or de facto um, 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 service on Azure to use for this particular project. So I've already set up an IoT Hub, which is here, the IoT Tuesday Hub, which is quite simple to do. So for the sakes of those who, I think we've done this on the show before. We've connected the IoT Hub on the show before. We've actually created one before. So if you haven't you don't know how to do it, go check out my stream. I have done that. You see how to do that in my previous episodes. All right, but it's quite simple. If you go to home, it's quite simple. Go to create resources in Azure, um, and then you can go to look for IoT, Internet of Things, and these are all services relating to Internet of Things on the Microsoft. Let me blow this up on the Microsoft Azure portal. Something just happened. Okay, and then I can go to IoT Hub, select it, and then go through the steps to create it. For now, you can use a very basic one. So you select a subscription, as I have. You can select a resource group if you want to. I have a couple of resource groups. Select the location, give it a name. It has to be unique. Give it a unique name, and then proceed. All right. So let's see what put it is in IoT Tuesday, and then we'll call this the IoT Tuesday, T for Tuesday underscore. Oh, let's just use sensor demo. All right, and then you can go to next. Let me go back and see. East US, that's fine. Usually, France Central is closest to me. Europe Central, yeah, it's faster, so I like to put things there. And then you can see the standard tier. All right, you can select the standard tier. There's a free tier, there's a basic tier. Different tiers. Let's even try the free tier and see. Okay, so for the only thing is that with the free tier, you don't get security center. Um, you have up to 88,000 messages a day. Cost per month is zero. So I mean, but if you're trying it out, you can just go ahead with, let's see, the basic one. That's Let's see. No, not a B3. Let's go for a standard S1. So standard S1 is saying I have security turned on. I get up to 400,000 messages a day. It's going to cost me about $25 a month. So pick any of this, try things out, all right? And then we go to next. We can give it tag if we want to. We can review it, and then all you need to do now is to click on create. All right. So that's simple how to go through the process to create it. But we already have one, so I'm not going to worry myself with it. That's the IoT Tuesday one, and that's what we'll be using for the purpose of this episode. Okay, cool. So With all that said, and now having our Pi, Raspberry being written to it, I can now go ahead and remove the SD card, which is this, and now I'm going to put this in the Raspberry Pi, and I'm going to boot the Pi. So let's do this. Okay, let me turn this around, remove the, and then put this back here. I'm going to connect this. Okay, let's go to the bench so you see what I'm doing. I don't want to keep you guys. So, yeah. So I'm connecting it. Okay, yeah, there you go. Okay. This seems to have connected. Connecting my now. So, um, I have this connected here. So this is a keyboard. So this is a keyboard and a mouse, Logitech keyboard and a mouse. Now that I don't need this, I can push all these things to the side right here. All right. That allows me to connect, so my keyboard and mouse is here. It won't kill us to also connect it to the network since I'll be talking about a few things. So I have my network cable already set up here. Forgive me for it looks like a mess, but I have all these things. Okay, and then the next thing I'll do is connect. So ideally you need a monitor or a screen so you can see what's happening. I have this set up so that I can actually change the feed for you to see what's happening when we connect the Pi. So I'm going to go ahead and connect this. Yeah, I know I have a lot of cables running through here. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. All right, and I'll be sure to answer this. So from here, I'm going to now connect the power. Yep, and as you can see, so we have power. Now nothing is going to happen because we've not written any program for this or anything yet. It's just our internet, everything connected to it. Now I'm going to try to switch to a view. Now, yep. Now, so what you're seeing right now on your screens is our Raspberry Pi loading. All right. Yep. So Raspbian is loaded onto the drive. It's running our Raspberry Pi. So we're going through the process. We're going through the process of we're going through the process of setting the Pi up. And sorry, I'm talking. I'm checking something because it looks like my internet for some reason just decided to play a little trick on me right now. So sorry about that. Yeah. So it's blank. If you're seeing a blank screen, don't panic. That is because it's setting up the Raspberry Pi because we're doing a new installation. So as you can see, with my mouse and everything. So this has set up Raspbian on our Pi, and we need to go through the setup. Now, there is something I want you to take note of. Okay, awesome. Wow, that's surprising. Because it went red a bit here. So thanks Demet for that update. Cool. So now there's something you need to watch here right now. The IP address. All right? Because I'm just going to make a funny joke with this. With all this quarantine and corona thing going on, you have to work remote. You can actually use VS Code to remotely create applications on your Raspberry Pi. So you don't need to, use work directly on the Pi. So I can be on my Windows, and I'll show you those extensions very soon when we start to do the connection. So I can use this extension to connect to the Raspberry Pi remotely whilst using my VS Code. All right. So you need to keep note of your IP address, and if you look closely, you see that this is 100.12. So I'm going to make a note of it somewhere here. So 192.168.100.12. So I know this is my IP. Now, another thing you can do is you can also set up, if you have a router, you can set up the router to give out static IPs, and then use a MAC address of your Pi so that all the time your Pi gets a static IP. All right, so you can do that as well. So yeah, so let's go ahead and let's set this up. So I'm going to click on next. Hold on, something strange. Okay, yeah, yep. So English country. Uh, let's see if it has my country in there. Yep, it has Ghana right there. It speak the Ghana language. No, 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 no. Oh, that's crazy. Akan is not, and I think Raspberry Pi is being biased or racist. Akan is not the only language in Ghana. There are a lot of different languages. We speak English. There's my tribe's language. Everywhere there's Hausa. There is a Enzima, Fanti, a lot of languages. You know what? Let's just stick to this is crazy. I'm just gonna stick to the US or the UK so I can get um just use the English language, yeah. Time zone and it's picking this. This is not a good experience for me for this particular OS. I had Windows IoT Core running on this Pi, and I decided to go to do this because of Python, and this is what I'm getting. This is not fun. Now, if I use Los Angeles, that's going to put me on the Pacific Northwest time, like or the West Coast time zone, since that's where I lived before I came to Ghana. I'm going to be a bit biased and choose that. Or better still, how about we do UK? Because that's closest to me. I can do British English and then the time zone. Yeah, and then I use an English keyboard. Yeah, that solves a lot of my problems. That's fine. Okay. And now, so the default password is pi. All right. You can change the sorry the default user account is pi. All right. Now, security best practices. Make sure you change this. All right. But for the sakes of what I'm doing, I'm just going to keep it that way and put a very strong password, as you can see. All right. Oh yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. And then it's not trying to connect to Wi-Fi, all right? Because this Pi is Wi-Fi enabled. I have a couple of Wi-Fi connections, all right? But because it's already connected, as you can see, I think it's already connected. Let's try this. I'm just going to go off a bit because I've connected the cable to it. I don't want to connect it over the Wi-Fi. All right, so um, I can just skip this. All right, it's just to let you know that the Pi is on the internet. This is it. All right, because it's connected. It's connected to the cable. So I don't. So I'm going to skip this. I don't need to do this. Uh, an update if necessary. Yeah, why not? Let's do it. We got time. I mean, it's supposed to be a new one, so that's cool. All right. So that is one thing with our Raspberry Pi being set up. We've talked about tools that we're going to use. Now, let me open VS Code briefly and then bring it in context, and then I'll walk you through some of these, the extensions I'm talking about. Okay, so whilst the Pi is installing and doing all that, let's come here to our Visual Studio Code. All right, cool. So there's Visual Studio Code. All right, and let's see if I can make this a little big. Yeah, remember this and trust application. I have a very stubborn antivirus on my thing. Okay, cool. So if you go to extensions here, these are the these are the, oh well, yeah, main extensions I want you to look out for. All right. The first one here is the remote development. All right. So if you do remote development, where is that? Yep, this is it. All right. So remote development allows you to actually uh, be able to connect remotely to devices or workstations and stuff and work. All right. So in the through a SSH. So in the same scenario, because our Pi is running somewhere, I wouldn't want to go to that screen and be working. I want to do everything from my from let's say my Windows machine or just from a single point. So now I can now use this extension pass in the IP address of that machine, provide the SSH username and password, and then, all right, that allows me to remotely work on that machine. So cool extension, all right, very simple. And when you install that, it actually creates this remote explorer thing for you and try to, look out. You can now try to find devices or machines on your network that you can remotely connect, into. Okay, that's the first one. Then the second one, because you're doing IoT, is IoT device cube. What did I type? Cube. Let's see. Yep. So here, okay, this are utility extensions that allows you to access access to physical like IoT devices. So if you want to be using Visual Studio Code to be doing a lot of IoT stuff, these two extensions are what you need. And mostly for a lot of things done on the Raspberry Pi, it's either between Python, C, or maybe if you're using Windows IoT Core on it, then you can do C Sharp and all that. All right. However, you also would need to have at least Python, the Python extension installed on that machine. So as you can see, I have all these things installed for my machine. Okay, so this would have to be replicated for your remote machine. So for instance, this new Pi we're setting up doesn't have this extension. All right, so if I remote into it, I'll be able to install extensions locally on the Pi, but then use them, remotely on the Pi, but locally use it on my Visual Studio Code. All right, let me show you what I mean. Let's go back to the Pi and let's see what's happening. Okay, we're still running updates. Cool. So let's come back here. So these are the two things. All right. Once that is done, I should be able to go here and do remote. Where is that? Yep. So I can do a remote, connect to it and then specify um, this my antivirus is going to be a pain in my behind. All right, and then I can just do the Explorer, and it's going to look for, I'm not looking for containers, I can look for SSH targets. All right, and then it's going to look for all machines on my network that have SSH enabled that I can remote into. And then, yep, oh yeah, because yeah, oh, no worry, let's keep this there. Okay, yep. So I'll provide the SSH, all right, and then that will connect to the Pi, and then I can actually now run code on the Pi remotely from Visual Studio Code. Let's see where we are on the Pi. Okay, we are almost there. All right, so that's setting up the Pi. We talked about the hub. We talked about the tools I use. We talked about, um, and this is still asking me to do. So we've talked about all that. Cool. Now I want us to walk through. Okay, so Tim, so the thing is, on the Raspberry Pi, natively you can do Python, all right, because the Linux kernel, you can do Python simply. You can also do C Sharp on the Raspberry Pi. Now you can do it and then deploy if you're using .NET Core cross-platform. You can actually deploy it, onto Raspberry Pi as well. I think I done this in one of my shows. If not, I'll go back and check my I'll check the episodes. If I've not done it, I'll show it one of these days, either on Demystified Tech on Friday. I'll show how to do that. But yes, you can do C Sharp on a Raspberry Pi through if you're using, let's say, if you're building any of the .NET Core applications called cross-platform stuff, you'll work on it. Also, if you run Windows IoT Core on the Raspberry Pi, you are free to run any .NET or C Sharp any application on the Raspberry Pi. That works perfectly. You can do that. Yeah. So I hope that answered the question. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's see how we're doing. Yep, system is up to date. And then it says we need to restart. Yeah, let's restart it. So whilst that's happening, we can come back here. Awesome, 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 awesome. Good to know that that answered your question. Yeah, I know someone is asking how am I showing the Raspberry Pi on the stream. So what I have is I have a setup that allows me to, I have a capture card, an Elgato capture card that allows me to capture external screens and push them into OBS. So what I do is that the capture card is now connected to the Raspberry Pi. So I have a scene for external devices. So now what you're seeing is supposedly a monitor feed from the Raspberry Pi showing on the screen. Yep, yep. I hope that answered the question. Okay, so let's go ahead and then I'm going to set up. Oh, sorry. I don't have this in view. Cool. So now that we are here, I'm going to set up, let's set up SSH, right? So let's enter, let's set up a target. Okay. So let's say SSH, uh, H, I think is pi at 192.168.100.12, right? Remember that? Okay, and then, oh no, we're not updating any file, all right? That's fine. Okay, so we have a host added. Let's connect to the host. Mm -mm -mm -mm. Okay. Yep, so yeah, connect in the current window, all right? Allow, allow, allow. Okay, it's setting up SSH. Let's see what's happening. Oh, I was disconnected. Look at that. So let's retry this. So if you look here, opening, let's see what's happening. Okay, so let's see what we are getting here. Okay, okay. Hmm. Yeah, this is not. So what will happen is that once we connect to it, okay, once we connect to the target, it will have a terminal within that target. Let's go to the Pi and check what we have here. Let's see. Let's see what's happening here. Can it connect when Pi? So your question is, can it connect when Pi is updating? No. So we've actually finished with update is done. Update is done, so it should connect. So let's see. Desktop enabled. No, no, no. Let's see. Ah, this is the reason why. Check this out. SSH disabled. So we need to enable SSH. And because on the app, so this is something that this always gets me because of the Pi. Okay, we need to even get remote access to the GPIOs if you want to program that. So I'll enable this. I'll enable access to the camera. I'll enable access to SPI, I2C, the serial port, the serial console. Yeah, one wire and then remote GPIO. All right. Well, it's development. I mean, but if you're going to use this in production, only enable what you need. Don't overdo this. All right. And then okay. Okay, yes. So now I need to reboot it. So that's why it wasn't working because uh we we didn't enable SSH when we did the fresh installation. So just bear that in mind. So I hope bit by bit we're picking up. We are almost up at the 1 hour mark, but I would go over it a little at least so I get you to this point. After an hour and maybe a few minutes, I would end the stream, but then I will still continue this and record it offline and then that'll be available for you to watch so people do. But I'm trying to figure out how I can do this. So the stream ends exactly in an hour, but then people can still stay and do that. I'm still figuring out how to do this, but that'll be so I don't keep people on the stream for a long time. I'll stick to the hour, and then after that, I'll pause. I'll do the recording and I'll post that later. I mean, maybe on a Sunday or another day where I can just keep going 2 hours and you can just keep, going and all that. But hey, that's just it. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. We have a few more minutes to go. At least let's set a Pi up. Let's make sure we can at least send something to the GPIO ping and say what's up, to the LED on it. All right. Whether it's going to be in Node or whether it's going to be in Python, we're going to do that. Right. Right. Keep your questions coming. So let's go back here. Looks like we're back. So let's close this. Oh, I just closed it. All right. And then let's come back here. Okay. So if you remember, I can open this up. We have our target. I'm just going to connect this. I'm going to connect in a current window. And now hopefully with that enabled, it should, okay, so are you sure you want to continue? Yeah, I want to continue. All right. Enter the password. If you remember, I entered a super sensitive password. And it's opening, 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 setting up, setting up. And this is all happening in VS Code, guys. VS Code. So this can apply to any other host that is SSH enabled. You can do that right from VS Code. Okay. So instead of connecting the Pi, the monitor, and all that, and trying to, code directly onto the Pi, we're using VS Code to do this. So this is initializing something, setting things up for this Pi to work. And look at this. We are connected. Isn't this awesome? So we are now connected to the Pi. All right. We are now in the Pi. And I'm connected remotely. I can decide to open a folder and look at this. This is the remote. I'm remotely connecting and showing. In fact, let me see if I can zoom this in. Yeah, check this out. Okay, so this is remote. This is everything coming from the Pi. And look at the terminal, right? This is the Pi. So we are connected to the Raspberry Pi remotely. And from here, I can create a directory. I can do all that. I can, create my Python file, invoke everything right here, right from within Python. Sorry, right from within Visual Studio Code. All right. Now remember we mentioned those extensions we need. Because this is a remote target, I need to enable or create those extensions. Okay. So to do that, I'll just okay this. Yeah, this just open. Yeah, so look at this. This just open this directory whole this whole file structure within the Pi for me. All right. So let's go ahead and then I can now go to the extensions. And remember, we mentioned three extensions. So sorry, two extensions. At least I need Python now. So I need to get okay. And look at this. It tells you install in SSH. So install in the remote environment, not the local environment. All right. And then I'm using the Microsoft official Python, stuff. So let's go ahead and install this. And this is installing. So this is not happening on my local. This is happening remotely on the Pi right now. Okay. So yep. Fun times. Now when this is done, we're going to go to the Microsoft documentation for what we're going to be using for today's episode, what we're actually doing for sending data to the IoT hub. I've shown you how to create the hub. I've shown you how to, virtually set up a new Pi. So we're going to see how that works. So we're installing our Python extension on our Pi, Raspberry Pi. And once that's happening, I can actually go ahead and also do IoT device cube. Okay, that's done. So that's pre-done coming from it. What do we have? What else? Yeah, I think we're cool now. That's all we need. We just need Python because that's what we're going to do. If we want to do some other thing remotely, like let's say C sharp or something else, you can install that extension. All right. So let's patiently wait for that extension. Waiting for the extension. Now, whilst we wait for the extension to, to install, let me take you back to, let's see. Yeah, now let me take you to, I'm going to take you to the resource we'll be using for the rest of this show. That is Microsoft official documentation for connecting the Raspberry Pi to the Azure IoT Hub using Node.js. All right. So there is a C. If you look here, there's a C option here. There's a C option, but I'm going for the Node option because I believe a lot of my viewers are more Node inclined. However, if you don't have a device, okay, you can still use this resource and use a simulated device with .NET, as you can see here, Raspberry Pi Web Simulator. You can try all these things out if you don't have a device. But if you're in Nigeria, don't forget the Geek Store is the place for you to be. So let's close this. So we already have our hub and then this. So let's go back. Let's see what's happening. Okay, it requires a reload. Let's do the reload. This might probably reconnect us, but hey, yeah. We don't need that. We've already installed this. Yeah, so yeah. And then look at this. So if you look down here, it shows us that this is installed on the remote machine, and these are extensions on the local machine. All right. So now I can go ahead, you know, and then open the terminal and then, list out stuff. And as you can see, all right, I have it right here. So I can go into anything I want and create directory, create folders, and create my Python file right from here. And this affects this. Now, if let's go back to the Pi so I can show you this. If I open this up here, look closely. We have desktop documents, MacPy, music, pictures, public, template, videos. All right. So to prove to you that I'm going to do this remotely, let's come back here and then right from VS Code, I'm going to create a directory mkdir and then we'll call it development. All right. This is created. To prove that this is working remotely, let's go back to our Pi and look at this right here. Check this out. It's there, right? You can see dev. You can see dev here. That's it. That is it. I've created now. Even the dev folder has nothing. So let's come back here. And then I can say cd dev. We've changed into dev as you can see from the prompt. And then in here, let's go back to the files here. Now I see dev. Okay, and then in dev, I can create a file here and then call this demo.py, demo.python. All right, save this. And now let's go back to the Pi and see if it is really there. Do we have demo.py showing here, guys? And all this is happening remotely. All right, all right, and all this is happening remotely, right? Awesome. So this is as simple as setting up all the environment we need. Now we can walk through. So what I'm going to do is that, you know what? I'm going to copy this resource, put it right here for you guys. I'm putting it in the chat so that even if if I end the stream because of the time constraint and I do this, you can follow up with me. But I'm going to continue recording it. And then I will share that with you on. So basically, that is how we've set up the environment to connect to, to connect to the Raspberry Pi remotely to do these things, to connect and communicate these things. So if there's any questions, all right, if there's any questions you have pertaining to what I've just done, please hit me up. I will try to answer them. In as much as the stream is ending because we are now at an hour mark, I'm going to continue to do this offline. So if you have any questions, still, just put it to me. as I'm doing this and recording to put up, I'll show you, I'll answer it, in the mail. So, if this was interesting enough for you, if you felt this is something that is worth trying out, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel on YouTube right here. Subscribe and follow me on all my social media platforms. Send your questions, keep your questions coming. If there's anything else you want me to show or do on the show, I'll show you how to do that. And then we all learn together, we grow together, we are aligned, and when we talk, we understand each other. Until then, this has been IoT Tuesday. Yours truly, Samuel Atranyi. I am out.